We tend to rely more on user-generated content, employee-generated content, because that is an opportunity to create more authentic and humanize the company.
Welcome to the Entail AI podcast, where we go behind the scenes with top marketing leaders and innovators who are driving growth for their brands. This episode's guest is Alex Love, Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Riva Solutions. Alex is an award-winning marketing expert with over 10 years of experience. In today's episode, we'll get an insider perspective to public sector marketing and how Alex uses a deep understanding of the target audience to develop compelling narratives through user-generated and employee-generated content to increase their reach.
Can you explain a little bit about what type of clients you work with and what kind of services you provide?
Yeah, absolutely. Riva Solutions is an IT government contractor. We work primarily with the U.S. federal government. We provide all types of services in the IT and software development sector.
So you're head of marketing. So what type of marketing services do government organizations need?
It depends on the contract. So most of the marketing that we do is for Riva itself, and working to talk about the work that we do, the work that our clients do. We do have a couple of contracts that do want marketing services if the government provides a service, but that's typically not how my team operates. We're typically an in-house team that markets the work that Riva Solutions does.
Okay, so it's mostly marketing yourself, like your
Yes.
agency, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
And you're marketing to government organizations, so you can like B2G marketing. How much competition is there in that space? Is it a large space where a lot of companies operate in, or?
Yeah, especially in the area where I am. So I'm just outside of Washington, D.C., but there are a lot of companies who work specifically with the government. Probably some of the companies you may recognize names from: Lockheed Martin, General Dynamics, even IBM, Microsoft. They have government wings that they work with. So there are some very large companies who work and operate in this space that also work in the private sector. But there are tons and tons of smaller and mid-sized businesses who offer services to the government as well.
Okay, that's interesting. I'm not that familiar with in marketing there. And so, what types of marketing? Is it do you focus on events or conferences, or is it online?
Yeah,
LinkedIn. Like, what channel do you work from?
It's a bit of both. So the marketing to the government is definitely unique in terms of, it's not a lot of the traditional marketing you would think if you're working in the B2B or B2C sector. We can't do a lot of tracking of the analytics and lead generation. Government deals, the sales cycle is about 18 to 36 months. So it's a very, very long sales cycle with many, many, many touch points, and a lot more relationship building and a lot more information seeking than you would typically have if you were selling directly to a consumer or to another business. So we do a blend. We have a very heavy digital marketing presence, and a lot of that is based on LinkedIn. We do have an Instagram channel too, but that's more of the recruitment side of marketing. So come work for Riva, right? That's where we put a lot of that content. But primarily digital. We have our website, we have thought leadership, we have blog, and we do a lot of that marketing through our LinkedIn channel. And then we are complemented by our business development and sales team, who go out and attend a lot of those conferences. And it's not unique, but it is definitely more prevalent in the B2G space, is relationship building. You get to work with the government because you have the right relationships and you're able to, understand when that opportunity is coming out, what their pain points are, what that specific agency is looking to accomplish, because the government wants to work with, agencies that they trust, and the people that they know will do a good job at the work. And so having those key relationships is very, very important, especially since that sales cycle is so, so long and it can take so many different forms of how the work ends up coming out. So we work very closely with our business development sales team when they're out there, in the market attending these events, to make sure that they have the information and the marketing materials that they need to be successful when they're speaking to government agencies, customers, but also a lot of partnering with other IT companies happens very frequently in our space as well.
Besides the long sales cycle, what are the main challenges that you face there? Because you were talking about conferences and thought leadership. I'm guessing that it is, like I say, it is based on trust. and relationship because of that. Is there anything that affects, like the purchase decision or the sales cycle more than the relationship itself? Is there, how can you affect that? I mean, how much effect does that do thought leadership articles that you create have on that?
Yeah, it's hard to measure. That's a big challenge in the government space, right?
Yeah.
Because we don't, as I said, we don't have that traditional attribution model that you would have on the consumer side because there's so many data protection laws on what we can and cannot track. We don't have cookies. We don't have these things that other marketers do. So us relying on our thought leadership really sometimes is a person to person sending or emailing that thought leadership piece to say, hey, I thought of you, here's our opinion on this. Or what we do frequently is if one of our salespeople go out into the market, have great conversations with some of these agency leaders, we will then create that white paper or thought piece as a follow-up to say, hey, we heard what you said, this is sort of our opinion on it. A lot of times we'll put some sort of our approach and how we would help solve that problem, again, to start to build that trust with them, especially if it's a new relationship and they're not familiar with the work that we've done. I mean, we don't have a footprint at that agency. Being able to show, we are legitimate, we have opinions, we can do this work, we've done it at other agencies. Here's how we would approach your problem. That's how we sort of leverage a lot of the thought leadership pieces. But yeah, sometimes it is as manual as a human to human emailing it back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much enterprise sales. I think that, like, maybe even the extreme version of it, right? It's like,
Right.
yeah. How large are usually the organizations that you sell to? How many people work there?
At the government agencies, it truly depends. A lot of times we will work with specific offices. So Department of Commerce, for instance, has many, many agencies and bureaus within it. So very, very large government agency. But we're sort of targeting, one office that handles the IT services. So that could be a team of like 2 or 3 people, or it could be 10. And that's kind of the easier way for us to go in, is to build relationships with one specific team that maybe owns the system or has a specific problem that we think we can solve with some of our solutions. So it really sort of depends. It's very, very difficult, as it is on the private sector space, to market to everybody. So we take a laser approach and try to build relationships with one specific team at an agency to land and expand our presence.
And when it comes to thought, I mean, we also do a lot of thought leadership content for ourselves and also for our clients. But I wonder what type of content do you create for government agencies? What type of thought leadership content works for them?
Yeah, it's a bit of a hybrid. So as I said, when you're selling services, relationships matter a lot. And so we tend to rely more on user-generated content, employee-generated content, because that is an opportunity to create more authentic and humanize the company, right? So instead of pushing, here's our thought leadership paper on, cloud migration services. We certainly do that and we have that. But it is more authentic for us to put our director of cloud and services out there and say, hey, my name is Austin, right? And here's my opinion, here's my approach. So he has a personal brand around that. So people understand when he's out in the universe, he does this. He's the guy who does the cloud migration, and he can give his opinion on, that specific to the work we do at Riva. So we kind of balance a little bit of both. We definitely have the technical thought leadership and, what's coming, how would we approach this? And then we spin it on, you at the organization, what is your opinion? What is the seat that you sit in? Share your perspective on it. Just like I'm on this podcast talking about our marketing, right? We like to kind of peel back the layers and talk about, yes, I work for Riva. Here I do marketing, but here's my approach to it. And we're very sort of open about what works for us, what doesn't work for us, the lessons that we have, because we did come up as a small business. We're still a mid-sized business, right? We're not at the scale of some of the larger competitors that we have. But there's a lot of small businesses behind us. We are successful because of the information sharing that we had from others who came before us. And so that's a big part of our culture, to openly share a lot of that content with others. And so that's a little bit of a unique spin, right? But it also helps with recruitment. We're always looking to fill certain roles. And you want to join a company that has similar culture to you and you can feel like you want to be a part of it and belong. So putting more content out that's generated by our employees and our users again, attracts the right people to our company because they can see themselves working at our company.
So you're using expertise from within the company, which I think is it is the best practice I think you can do today, because I mean we see it also with many businesses. I often say that the main challenge now for businesses, not necessarily in your space, but in general, is that, you know, the world's attention is on social media and search, right? And I mean, Google has been, you know, like about 10 times all of social media combined, but now social media is really taking off. So it's kind of like balancing out. And so people are on social media as well a lot. And most of the content you consume on social media is individually created content, you know, mostly influencers, either your circle of friends, if you're more like into Instagram and Facebook and so on. But usually most people you follow, and definitely the content that you see on YouTube and TikTok is mostly influencers. On YouTube, maybe it's again a bit more even, but on other platforms, it's more and more individuals and less companies. And that's what you want to follow. You want to see what individuals do and think and so on. So I definitely support. I think you're very right at like using people from within the company to create your content, because again, that's what people are looking for today. So how do you do that? Do you do that through articles or videos, or so? What types of content do you create, and where do you publish it?
We're starting to get more into video. It takes a little bit more time, and not everyone's comfortable on camera, especially when we're talking about software engineers, right? They're not the most eloquent on camera, but we do a mix. So we have, you know, traditional longer pieces, white papers, blogs that we will sort of sparse up the content, you know, put social media content out there, shorter form content that we can reshare. Like I said, we're starting to get more into videos. So we just had a video. We're working with our talent acquisition team to get their faces out there more, since they are very big brand ambassadors. They're one of the teams that's out there talking to a lot of people all the time. So we want them to feel approachable, right, as they're recruiting people to work for our company. So we're starting a video series with that team to put their faces more out there and talk about the roles that they are helping to recruit. And then we do fun reels sometimes. So again, not a space that you would think we would do fun content like that, but we have had a lot of success putting our employees in parody videos, in things that are a little bit more pop culture and a little bit more fun. Because again, that really highlights the culture that we have. And yes, we work in a very serious space with some very serious missions, but the company itself is very fun to work with. And we want that to come through, that we are both subject matter experts in the work that we do, but also a fun company. So we've done an Office parody video. We've done Full House, certain different, you know, American TV shows that we've sort of parodied. And they've been really successful with our audience and very memorable too. I think that's the point, is that you don't see a lot of that in our sector and in our space. So anytime we're able to put something out that is more memorable, it works in our favor.
And where do you usually, I mean, do you share the content on your website, or what are your channels? LinkedIn, YouTube, where does your audience hang?
Yeah, our blog hangs out on our website, traditional, but I would say our primary audience is on LinkedIn. That's where we do most of our interaction, are really building up our community, because that hits all of our different stakeholders that we're marketing to. Government contractors are there, our partners are there, all of our recruits are there. So LinkedIn is our primary digital method. And then, as I said before, we do have an Instagram, but that is a little bit more on the company side, in-house side, to sort of talk again at another layer about what it is like to work at Riva.
Scaling your content marketing and SEO efforts can be difficult. If you're looking for a partner to help you succeed, Entail AI has the right tools to help you achieve your marketing goals. Find out more at the link in our bio, or go to entail.ai to check out our range of solutions.
I do know that there's many challenges around creating video content, like you say, especially if it's technical. I don't know if it's especially, but if it's technical and you need developers to do it, and any other person, I mean, not everybody feels comfortable on camera. So how do you solve that? I mean, how does your process look like? Do you script that before? Do you interview people? How do you film it in the office and edit it in-house? Maybe you can share a little bit about your process.
It depends on what the purpose of the video is. So if we're talking about something that is more technical and based in our solutions, and we are featuring our solutions team and some of our SMEs, that is something that we typically will film either in a studio, and we do generally script those because those individuals are more comfortable sort of reading a teleprompter, but they definitely want to have their thoughts on paper. So we'll work with them to make sure that the script feels a little bit more human. It's sort of in their vernacular. And we would typically shoot those in a studio space because that's a longer video. and a little bit more formal. Anything we're doing for social media, we do a ton of things that we just shoot in the office. We're actually mostly remote. So you can see I'm working on redoing my office at my house right now. But yeah, we're a dispersed workforce. So we can't always get everybody, in the same physical space to record videos. Maybe see each other once a month, if that. So we do a lot of recordings online, on Teams, on Zoom, what have you, and then work through different softwares like Canva and in other, whatever my graphic designers use, to kind of splice together some of those less formal, more social media geared videos, but they don't need as much production. And there's something that will be out there, the lifetime on a video like that is much shorter. We're not going to really reuse pieces like that. So we don't put as much production value behind them. So those are typically things we'll shoot either, on our phones, or we'll record the content and then, splice it together online.
And how many content pieces, how many videos like this do you manage to publish, per week or per month? I just know how challenging it is for companies. I mean, even just to do a blog for companies and maintain that over, a long period of time, being able to publish regularly. I mean, for most companies, they do it in-house. If they're not really if they don't have a significant content team, to do 4 pieces of content a month, it's quite a lot. And if they do videos, then I would say it's probably even less. So I'm just wondering how many videos do you manage to publish like that? Because I know how challenging it is.
Yeah, it is challenging, and we don't have a large team. So my team, I have 3 people who sort of report to me. So we're a marketing team up 4, and we also handle internal communications in all of our events. So we have a lot on our plate, and we rely very heavily on a lot of our different teams as the content owners to contribute to those blogs. So definitely working with those teams who also have other responsibilities, right? Blogs are not always the top of their list. So it does take a long time to produce some of this content. It has gotten a little bit faster with some of the AI technology that we have. So we can now work with our solutions team to do initial brainstorming, throw some of those ideas into a chat GPT, have an outline, and have them work from something that is faster than them sort of sitting and staring at a blank page and figuring out, how do I write this blog? So those kind of AI services have been really helpful to a small team, because we're able to start with first drafts and do more ideas and outline generation than we had before. But in terms of social posts, how much we try to have at least 1 post a week, or 1 post a day rather, on our LinkedIn account. And that's where user-generated, employee-generated content comes in handy, right? Because we don't have a huge content team who can create all this content for us. We do have to reach back into the employee base, reshare their content, work with them. Where were you this week? Is there a conference that you can share pictures from? Was there an event that you went to? Any insights that you want to share? And that is much easier for us to hit the reshare or help them to rework that content and focus on, what our opinion on is for that. So that is another reason why that is a huge piece for us, is because it's relatively free. We don't have a huge marketing budget either with a small team. So being able to leverage the insights and what our team is doing, not only, like we said, builds, trust and humanizes the brand, but it also supplements our content calendar.
In general, you say it's very difficult to measure success and ROI because the sales cycle is so long, right? So it's definitely difficult. But what do you measure? What do you look at in terms of your content performance if you're publishing on LinkedIn? Do you just measure engagements, or do you look at how relevant the content is to a specific marketing goal? How do you do that?
Yeah, we measure the standard things: engagement rate, community growth. Those are important metrics for us. Our community size and engagement rate versus our competitors. We take a look at that data a lot. Reach and visibility, right? Did they generate, did people actually go through, click through, read the entire blog on our website? Did they download the entire white paper? We sort of take a look at those conversion rates. And again, it's hard to track, but because we have good relationships with the team that is out there in the marketplace, we rely a lot on their feedback coming back. And as I said, sometimes our marketing is as manual as having them email or hand a white paper to the specific person. But that is something that we do look to do. Some of our pieces, most of our pieces at this point, are written for a specific person. Yes, they have general appeal. Anyone can read them and get insights from them. But there probably was a specific reason or a specific person that we wrote that for, that we're trying to get that into their hands somehow. And when we get data back that this went to that person, they read it, they commented back on it, got good feedback, that is the ultimate sort of measurement for us, is we did our job. We worked with the teams, we pulled out the insights, we got it into that person's hands, and that is getting us hopefully one step closer to building a relationship or winning a deal with their agency.
You mentioned using ChatGPT, so I mean, everybody's talking about how AI affects marketing and so on. I have to say that for us, it did affect things very much in terms of how we do content strategy. We use it in the strategy software that we built that basically enables us to map all the topics that we want to create content on and estimate the value of each topic before we create the content. The value means like how much volume there is there. So what's the exposure we can get, how relevant it is, how much contribution it can have to our sales process. And we also use it in the editing process. We don't use it that much for creating content. And I have to say that I know I hear different things about Claude. If you know, Claude is like ChatGPT competitor, and I hear that allegedly it's better. I haven't tried it. ChatGPT is the brand, and I guess there must be a reason for it, why everybody uses it and not necessarily Claude. But I must say that with ChatGPT itself, in terms of content generation, and also, for example, in turning blogs into video scripts, that's something that we tried it for, and it did very, very poorly, even though, I mean, we fed it quite a lot of examples to learn from, to learn the tone and so on. And especially if you want the script to be very specific and accurate, then it really didn't do a very good job. But you mentioned that you are using it in kind of like prompting even the beginning of the articles and so on. So maybe you can elaborate a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what people don't necessarily realize unless you work with the software a lot is that it produces pretty average content, right? It gives you the generic baseline because that's kind of what it's designed to do. So I agree. Using it I can't trust it to write a blog end to end. That content would not be good. It would not be in the right voice and tone, no matter how many prompts I gave it. And the content wouldn't be specific enough to either our software or, our product or our customer. You can generally tell when people throw a prompt in and pull the content out and post it as is without editing. So not our approach at all. I think how we have been able to leverage it really is to get that first draft or that outline done, because you can have a conversation with it that's like, hey, here's my company, here's our audience, we're looking to do, we're going to this conference, here's what it's about. Can you give us some ideas of how we would leverage, these insights, or give us an outline or things to think about? And it is, for most people, a lot easier to work from an outline or edit a first draft than it is to start fresh. And so that is our approach. We will never take, the content that it spits out and say, oh, this is great. Because most of the time, as you said, it's really, really not. Unless you have an in-house LLM, which we're thinking about starting to build with our solutions team, because a lot of our content is proprietary. So throwing it into something like ChatGPT has risks, right? And, your competitors may be using that software too. They may end up getting some of your content just because it's an open source. So unless you can build that tool in-house and have a content library that you're pulling from, it is average content at best. So it will learn. I'm sure it will get better. It's getting better every single day. And I'm just amazed at some of the first drafts that we can get and how much better it's getting. But yeah, designed to be average. So don't trust it with the final drafts.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of hype around it, and it definitely affected, and keeps affecting the world. But from what I can see until now, and like I said, also, like, it did change a lot of processes for us. All the content we create is only done by experts. We don't use writers anymore. But I think right now, when you really look into it, like you say, and that's what I hear from everybody who tries to use it, you can't really get a very good piece out of it. You have to do a lot of work. It may help you here and there. Like, for example, for myself, I like to use it if I need to write a title for something, I know, like a subject, right? And so I would ask to give me like maybe 10 variations of that, rephrase it and give you 10 variations, include the tone and all that. And usually I will have to mix and match between like the three top ones and also do my thing to get something right. So even I wouldn't even be able to select one of the 10 variations as the final title. It's not even there. So it's not as specific and it's not really that accurate. So I can't say it really revolutionizes marketing in that way that you can just rely on it for content creation. It does help you with other things, with other things like research and so on. But also when it comes to, you mentioned that you, I mean, some of your content is done by developers or by technical people, and in that case, do you also prompt like to help them with that, with the content creation process so they don't stare at the blank page? Do you also prompt that, or do you get them to contribute the content? Because my point is that when technical people, or in every technical field, or where the content is very, very specific, if you're not specific enough, you're going to get it wrong. So does it also work with that type of content tree?
For that, we probably more rely on the outline creation for the marketing piece. So they're never going to get very, very technical in something we're going to put out publicly unless it's a white paper and it's a little bit more protected. But I can at least give them an outline of here's the flow of what this should sound like, right? They're not always good at sort of structuring how the information can be presented, especially in a marketing piece. So yeah, we will typically use it to give them a general outline with big caveats to say, if this does not fit, please delete this section or take it a different way. Because again, they know the content much better than we are. I'm definitely not a technical writer. There's too many products and services and things that we are tracking on for me specifically to have all of that knowledge. But as the marketer, it's my job to help them sort of organize it and put it into the best format to speak directly to the right audience. So they have to generate the content, whether or not they use, I think some of them do, know their content well enough to be able to use something like ChatGPT to create their own first drafts and work from there and update and, put in the places where we need to be a little bit more specific or put in our specific, content, but outlines only for the solution team.
Okay, that's really interesting. I mean, I do think it does seem to me like a challenging space to be in, and you have to be very professional. So it's quite interesting to hear about how you manage marketing to market to these agencies. Where, like I said, I think it's very similar to like very like marketing to big enterprise companies in that way. So yeah, it's very inspiring. I mean, I've learned a lot from how you do things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Entail AI podcast. Join us next time for another masterclass when we sit down with a marketing luminary to reveal their path to success.